This is the scalability problem. Everyone's been talking about the scalability problem for at least 5 years now. And in basically, it's like a simple supply and demand problem, right? Like if the number of people who want to send transactions goes up, but the amount of space for transactions on chain doesn't go up, then all of these people who want to send transactions are bidding against each other, and only the ones that are willing to pay a really high amount can actually get in. The only way to solve this is to just improve the technology to increase the number of transactions that the system can process. It's why we've been doing just all kinds of incremental improvements to the blockchain clients and the protocol and the code over the last 5 years. Ethereum scalability has increased by about a factor of 5 since the project started. And then there are some problems that are not like just scaling problems per se, but they're still technology problems, right? Like there are problems that have to do with the fact that like this entire ecosystem has blown up and gotten big fairly quickly. There's a lot of aspects of it where people are still trying to understand like what is the correct way and what is the safest way to do these things. Right? Like for example, the state of just security auditing for blockchain protocols. Like it has gotten much better since the DAO hack back in 2016. Right. But, at the same time, challenges continue to exist. And that's normal in any space when, you have, usage growing faster and then the technology catches up. The reason why blockchains need to have proof of something, right, is because like these are decentralized systems. So, for example, in proof of work, like the system actually measures how much computing power is being put into each block. And so in order for an attacker to take over the network, they actually have to have more computing power than the rest of the network combined, right? Like, so you can't just spin up a billion virtual machines on one computer, but the problem is that it requires a huge number of computers to be constantly running 24/7. So it works, but it's very expensive. Proof of stake, it works differently, right? So proof of stake works by instead using coins as the economic resource. So if you have coins inside of the system, then you just sign messages with those coins. And for an attacker to take over, they have to basically have like more coins than the rest of the network put together. So it does the same thing, but it avoids the need to have these computers running 24/7, and that's where the efficiency comes from. So I think what people call ETH 2.0 has two big parts, right? One big part is the switch to proof of stake. So after a full transition to proof of stake, there will not be any more mining. Ethereum's energy consumption will go down by like a factor of more than 1,000. So it'll go from being a big problem to basically not a problem at all. And the chain will become more secure, it'll become more efficient. So after that, the next major milestone is what's called the merge, which is when basically the proof of work chain just stops running and all of the applications on the proof of work chain get moved over to the proof of stake chain and continue running inside of the proof of stake chain from there. There's definitely going to be crackdowns on things happening on blockchains, just like there's crackdowns on things happening on the internet. I do think that the state of the industry and the state of things is improving. But if you just compare it to the way that the space was 5 or 8 years ago, right? Like 2014, remember, Mt. Gox just like collapsed and $500 million disappeared. Like, I think we still don't know where most of it is. And like things do continue to happen from time to time, but just like as a fraction of the scale of the space, I do think that it keeps getting smaller and smaller. One big consequence, of course, is that mining is moving out of China, which, there's definitely a silver lining there in terms of decentralization in that you don't have as much hash power located in one country anymore. But at the same time, the mining farms there were, real companies with real employees and real people. Some degree of regulatory action is happening, but it's not looking like, anything close to, the level of like, say, what people feared 10 years ago. the internet as a whole, it grew a huge amount over the last 20 years. And for most of that 20 years, people just did not take security seriously. It's even the wrong thing to be doing, to be trying to blame attackers. Ultimately, the things that's at fault is the fact that there are these excellent tools within cryptography and like within, the technology behind cryptocurrency itself that allow you to be much more secure against these kinds of things. And I mean, my personal hope is that people like at least see like the level of attacks that are happening now as a wake-up call, and that we get a massive effort to just improve the level of security, just across every industry and across the world. Because if that doesn't happen, right, like then it's not it's not even ransomware attackers or that are going to be a problem. Like it's at some point. Whenever the first like full-scale cyber war happens, if people are not prepared, it's something that could end up, being something really bad for the world. I think there's a few candidates. So I mean, DeFi is obviously one of them. I think the blockchain-based financial things have always been attractive because the traditional financial system just sucks more than traditional centralized tech, right? Like, if I send an email to, someone in Guatemala, then they're going to receive it in 1 second. With finance, you can't even say that. A lot of people and companies, even today, just to use cryptocurrency to send money internationally. Outside of finance, I think one interesting area where I think blockchains might go. You notice that in order to access your assets in Ethereum, you need to have an account. We're getting to the point where there's a lot of work that's been done on making these accounts very secure. And so instead of just being accounts that hold money, like these turn into like fully blown profiles, right? And once you have profiles, then you can start doing decentralized social media on top of that. The social and financial things that you can do with that, even working together, is something that I think could be really big. I think it's the future that contains fads, much like the internet was the future and the internet contained fads. There's definitely specific kinds of applications that do get overhyped from time to time, like ICOs back in 2017, and then there's certain kinds of DeFi right now, but at the same time, there's other DeFi projects that really are valuable. There's a combination of both, right? And figuring out which is maybe it's something that's difficult to see ahead of time, and it's something that we as an ecosystem are going to find out. A lot of them have definitely been just wrong already, right? They expected even back in 2013 to 15, at least some of them, to see blockchains and cryptocurrency fail and go down to zero in price and just not get any more interest completely. And even today, they've already been far more successful than any of them expected. So I can see how people in traditional finance, or at least some of them, can be inclined to kind of not see the value of blockchain-based finance immediately. There's a lot of people, even in traditional banks, that see the value that blockchains provide and have been trying to come up with things and work with them.